Would you kill as a gladiator in the Colosseum to rule Rome, or would you backstab and manipulate to get there? The politics of power and loyalty are Gladiator 2. At some point in writing this script, I would guarantee that somebody said, what if the guy that bought gladiators from the first film was actually a secret asshole? And that's basically Gladiator 2, a movie so politically complicated, it almost is unable to tell a compelling story.
The film is remarkably similar to the original for a long stretch, but trades out scenes that people like for ones that they won't remember.
Strength and honor!
Instead of 45 minutes dedicated to what our lead had and lost because an entitled brat lusted for power, we get about 5 minutes showing what Paul Mescal's Lucius had before immediately losing it. We see Lucius's wife killed, him taken as a slave by Rome, and forced to compete in the Colosseum, which all happens in the first 15 minutes, allowing for more time and room in the film for the powers that be plot for sure, but losing something along the way. Lucius fights for his life inside the Colosseum, while Rome fights for its life in the shadows.
Lucius fights as a gladiator for revenge and redemption.
I don't fight for power!
All while Denzel Washington's Macronus is free to manipulate, bribe, and kill his way up the political ladder until he's right next to the Emperor, using his gladiator, Lucius, as a shield to cloud his actions.
Macronus is one of, if not the most important characters in Gladiator 2. He's constantly looking all around him and asking people for their loyalty, something he desperately needs and values as a means to an end. Whereas Lucius, undoubtedly the other most important character in the film, serves as an interesting parallel to Macronus. Lucius is a born leader that people want to follow because he doesn't put himself above them. He fights in the Colosseum, he willingly stays in a prison cell, and when offered a chance at an easy rise to power, he rejects it.
These two parallel each other because they both rise to power one way or another. The difference is they are on opposite sides of an ideological canyon. Macronus believes the only way to rise is through strength beating strength and prevailing, using any dirty trick or tactic to grow his power. He uses Lucius's rage and the promise of vengeance to keep him blind and in his service. He keeps Rome's senators under his thumb through their gambling debts and blackmail. He even turns twin emperors against each other by applying pressure to the right one when things look dark.
Through these means, he's able to snatch power, but it's as fleeting as it is fragile, depending on his manipulation and blackmail to keep people under his control, dangling their dark deeds and missteps as if he's the last person on Earth with food and they're starving. Power obtained this way will never and has never succeeded over a long period of time. Just look at Ellen.
She really showed a despise for a lot of my people that we were pitching to her.
Truly, the only way to obtain power is by obtaining loyalty, a commonly overlooked and undervalued trait that all great leaders must have in order to maintain their power.
Macronus has no loyalty, only fear, and thus he dies in a river with no one for no one but himself.
He's the puppet master. He wants to dominate and to manipulate.
Lucius, on the other hand, rises from the same river to immediately command two armies that only a brief moment ago were pitted against each other. It's Lucius's leadership of people and their loyalty to him that makes all the difference. Instead of blackmailing them into submission, people are willing to die for him, simply because he was the one to do what no one wanted to do, and he did it without asking for parades or accolades.
It's a simple change in how you view the world around you. Do you think that you have to burn bridges and step on people to get where you want to be? Or do you think that the only way to truly achieve greatness is through the people around you? I would say that this is what Gladiator 2 is about, but I'm not really sure. In fact, that's the biggest issue with this film as a whole, is that nothing is really clear about it at all.
Lucius's character for the majority of the runtime wants to kill Pedro Pascal for killing his wife. The problem is, his wife is a character we hear one line from. Not exactly great fuel for a revenge film. I didn't know his wife and didn't care that she died because we hardly heard her say words. It makes Lucius's character a little uninteresting and hard to understand as a result.
But the waters become even murkier when it's revealed that Lucius is truly the son of Russell Crowe's Maximus and Lucilla. In a slap-together scene with a now inappropriately aged Lucilla, we see her sending her son off after the death of Commodus to keep him safe.
The child was sent away to protect him.
Never let them find you.
Upon his return, he wants nothing to do with his royal lineage, and in fact, completely rejects his mother when she first comes to see him, which maybe is where his rage comes from. Not from his dead wife, but maybe from his mother abandoning him.
Again, it's incredibly unclear if this is truly the case, as he seems to worship his father and loathe his mother. That is, until he it doesn't. If the waters weren't clear before, now they may as well be Utah Lake.
But whose head could I give you to satisfy your fury?
The general will do.
He asks Macrinus for the head of Acadius and ends up fighting him in the arena. He's still clearly filled with rage and refuses to listen to the pleading of Pedro Pascal. After a minute of fighting, the general lays his weapons down and tells Lucius his parents are actually pretty epic and that he loves his mother.
This tames the fire in Lucius, I guess, because then he also lays down his weapons. This moment and the death of the general seems to change Lucius's perspective on what's important. I'm still not entirely sure why, but it is after this scene that he decides to finally take on his destiny as the ruler of Rome and plots to overthrow Macrinus and build a new republic. It's hugely important to get this moment right so that we would understand the subtext of the film, and yet it feels rushed. It's all kind of poorly handled and comes together so quickly that it was nearly impossible to feel the impact of these moments.
Where I should be feeling a stir when Lucius puts on his father's armor, I feel nothing. Where I should be cheering for the downfall of Macrinus, I felt nothing. It's a tricky thing getting these character arcs right, but the film unfortunately comes up a little short. Somehow, a 2.5-hour political drama leaves important questions unanswered. However, if you strip it down, Lucius and Macrinus are the embodiment of the politics and ideals at the heart of the film. One wants to lead Rome to ruin and rebuild it in his image, grabbing power through shady evil deeds, while the other wants to give Rome back to the people that hold it up. Although reluctantly, he takes power by being the man that everyone in Rome wished they were. Strong, resilient, and unfazed by the power he's achieved thanks to the loyalty he's earned.
At least that's what I think about this murky and sometimes hard to follow political follow-up to a pretty straightforward film. But what do you think?